This started about 2 weeks ago, during a delivery near Joplin, Missouri. I had stopped to rest in an open field, with no traffic, nothing around but trees and a cloudy sky. I parked the truck, turned everything off, and had the keys in my pocket. I woke up to find the truck about 200 yards away from where I had left it. At first I thought it was just my imagination, maybe I had misremembered. But the second day it happened again. Same place, same procedure. And when I woke up, the truck was facing a certain point in the middle of nowhere. As if it wanted to go in a straight line. On the third night, I decided to record it. I positioned my phone with the camera facing the dashboard and let it roll. I woke up to the truck moving. In gear. In first gear. Going down a dirt trail that wasn't even on the map. I slammed on the brakes, pulled the steering wheel, and stopped. When I went to check the video, it stopped at the exact moment the dashboard lit up, by itself. Without a key. The engine roared on its own, as if it had a life. I stood there, shaking, staring at that dirt road. And that's when I saw the first rusty, half-fallen sign, Hesper Mine, entrance 2 miles. I had never heard of this mine. And I had been all over Missouri. I asked locals, but no one knew. I went to a gas station and asked the older attendant. His eyes widened and he said, "This mine was sealed in the 1950s. Nobody has been in there since a cave-in. They say some government trucks used to go straight there. But no one knows what they were carrying." I began to feel that it wasn't just a mechanical failure. Something was pulling the truck. It wasn't a coincidence. It was the direction. I tried to continue my journey, taking a different, longer route. Even so, the truck began to turn slowly at night, like a compass pointing to the same place. Last night, I decided to sleep outside the cab. I locked everything, took out the key, and secured the steering wheel with a heavy lock. I slept inside a 24-hour gas station. When I woke up, the lock was on the ground. The truck, parked almost a kilometer away, with its headlights on. Again, pointing in the direction of the mine. It was as if it had gone as far as it could without me. And the strangest thing, there were tire tracks in a circle, as if it had been driving there for a while before stopping. When I opened the door, the radio turned on by itself. And a single phrase echoed, low and drawn out, "Go back to the bottom." I spent the next day trying to find out more about the Hesper mine. I managed to find an old page on a local forum, where an anonymous user mentioned voices coming from the mine entrance and abandoned trucks with their engines still hot, even after years of not being used. I went to the police station in a nearby town and tried to pull up some records. The police officer who helped me said that the mine's files were sealed and that even the army had passed through there in the 1960s. That stuck in my head. This wasn't just a road. It was a calling. An attraction. As if the truck was obeying something that was coming from beneath the earth. Last night, I decided to face it once and for all. I let myself be guided. I left the truck running and just kept my hand on the steering wheel, not controlling it. And it went. It accelerated slowly, as if it knew the route by heart. It took the dirt track and entered a road that wasn't even on the GPS. Old trees and branches blocked the way, but the truck kept going as if it had done it 1,000 times. Until we arrived. The entrance to the mine, marked by a twisted iron arch and a rusty chain on the ground. The opening seemed to breathe. Moisture rose from the hole, and the smell was of living things. But old. Very old. I stopped. I slammed on the brake. The engine turned off by itself. Everything went silent. For a few seconds, I thought it was over. But then the dashboard came on. Just one light. Red. Blinking slowly. The handbrake disengaged by itself, and the transmission moved into first gear with a sharp click. Without touching anything, the truck began to enter the mine. In gear. Steady. Without hesitation. I tried to pull the brake again, to turn everything off. Nothing worked. It was as if I was there only to witness it. Inside the mine, everything was dark, but the headlights illuminated dirty walls, with scratch marks and hastily scratched symbols. We drove for about 20 minutes until the headlights illuminated something in the background, a row of trucks. All old. All parked. Some half buried in dried mud. Others with their doors open. And in each one, a cabin identical to mine. Same model. Same identification number. Same smell. I panicked. I screamed. I tried to get out, but the door was locked from the inside. As if the truck itself wouldn't let me. And then I saw, on the passenger seat, something that hadn't been there before, an old, stained badge with my name on it. And the date of birth, wrong. It said I had died in 1973. I tried to forcefully open the door, I kicked the glass, but nothing would budge. The truck stopped in the center of that dark mine hall. The headlights now illuminated what seemed to be an altar made of vehicle parts, bones and things I couldn't identify. At the top, a cabin like mine, all rusted, but with the engine still pulsing a low sound, like breathing. The cabin began to shake. A dull, low sound filled the air like a buzzing inside my head. And then, from the wall at the back, hands appeared. Dry, deformed hands, as if they belonged to former drivers who had never left there. All with the same badges. All with faded eyes. The door finally opened on its own. I stumbled out, my cell phone flashlight flickering. There was no signal, of course. The mine entrance behind me was gone. Or closed. All that was left was the dark hole and the shadows of the old trucks, all lined up like a wake. A metallic clang sounded. I turned around and saw my own truck turn off. The lights went out. But the radio turned on by itself, one last time. And the voice that came out of it was mine. You've arrived. Now it's your turn to drive. I began to understand. This mine was a cycle. A point of return. A place where drivers aren't buried. They're absorbed. I ran through one of the side tunnels, guided by old signs and emergency lights that came on as I passed. The mine seemed alive, rearranging its paths, always keeping me close. Always making a point of showing me other trucks with familiar brands. One with my favorite sticker on the back. Another with my keychain hanging from it. All versions of me, from routes I might have taken, or might take. Until, on a curve, I came face to face with another me. Standing still. In dirty overalls, holding the steering wheel, smiling. But his eyes didn't blink. They were dry. Dead. I don't remember how I got out. All I know is that I woke up 2 days later, parked in a freight yard in St. Louis, with a full tank of gas and a clean truck. But now, every morning, I wake up to the gears shifting into gear by themselves. Even with the engine off. Even without the key. Always facing west, toward the mine. And every time I pass a rearview mirror or a reflective surface, I see another me inside the cab. Smiling. As if I already knew that, sooner or later, would be back there. Because no matter where I run to, that road knows the way. It all started one hot night in Arkansas, when I stopped to take a leak on a deserted stretch of US 65. I saw a wooden cross on the side of the road, stuck in a pile of rocks, with some dried flowers and a small, dark bottle resting right in the center. It had a red ribbon tied around the neck. It looked like one of those improvised memorials where someone died in an accident. I picked up the bottle without thinking much. It was strange, heavy for its size, with a thick, black liquid that moved slowly when I turned it over. I threw it in the glove compartment, thinking it might be something of value to someone. I was going to drop it off at a gas station, I don't know. But I forgot. From that day on, everything changed. My truck, which had been giving me problems all the time, started to run smoothly. No warning lights on the dashboard, no strange noises. Not a single nail in the tire. It sounded like a different vehicle. My freight started to pay more, I never got stuck in traffic, and the gas stations were always empty when I arrived. Everything was going well. At first I thought I was lucky. But then the strange things started happening. Every day, in the early hours of the morning, I woke up at exactly 3:33 a.m., even though the alarm clock was off. And every time I opened the glove compartment, I felt a cold wind, even on hot days. It was like I had opened the door to a freezer. On the fifth night, I heard the first voice. It came from the glove compartment, whispering. I thought it was an air leak, but the voice said things. 1 more mile. Don't stop now. The road needs you. It was always soft and tired, like someone dying. I was scared, of course. But I kept driving. My luck was too good to give up. Until one day, in Louisiana, I pulled over to rest and saw another cross on the side of the road. Just like the first one. Only this time, the bottle was open. And empty. The red ribbon hung from one of the dry branches beside it. That same night, I dreamed of the highway. But it was a dark version of it, with no horizon. I drove on endlessly, surrounded by voices giving me instructions. Turn. Swerve. Keep going. When I woke up, the truck's dashboard showed a route I hadn't planned. A route along a rural road with no name, far from the interstate. It stuck in my head, but I ignored it. Then my luck started to change. One of the side mirrors fell off by itself. Then a brake light started to fail. But every time something broke, I heard a whisper from the glove compartment, a little more. Not long now. The next day, while I was filling up at a gas station in Mississippi, an old man came up to me. He looked at my truck and said, "You took one of the little bottles, didn't you?" I froze. I asked him what he knew about it. He replied, "They're vows. People who died asking to be on the road. Those who carry them, carry their desire with them. And their debt." I didn't know what to say. He looked at me with a dry look and added, "As long as she's with you, you'll never stop. But you'll pay it back your way." I walked back to the truck, my mind racing. I opened the glove compartment. The little bottle was still there, but the liquid was now rising up the sides, as if it were boiling. That night, I stopped at a roadside motel. I tried to sleep, but the voices came back, this time in the bedroom. Whispers coming from the closet, the bathroom, the wall. Disjointed phrases, names I'd never heard, desperate pleas. "Get me out of here. I want to see the road again. Take me with you." When I looked out the window, the truck's headlights were on, even though they were off. And the glove compartment was open. I walked over to it, shivering. Inside, the little bottle was shaking on its own. And there was a new item, an old coin, covered in a dark goo. I picked it up and felt such a strong shiver that I almost passed out. After that, things got weirder. I started seeing figures on the shoulder of the road, standing still, as if waiting for a ride. When I passed, they disappeared. One night, I saw one of them in the mirror of the truck. A thin man in an old suit, sitting in the passenger seat, staring straight ahead. When I turned to look, there was no one there. But the seat was sunken. And the seatbelt was tight. The whispers in the glove compartment began to beg, one more stop. Go back to the cross. Don't let the road end. I felt like it wasn't just about luck anymore. It was like I had become a driver, but not of freight. Of dead people. Yesterday, I parked at a high point on the road, overlooking a valley. And I saw dozens of crosses below, all with identical little bottles. Some glowed in the dark. Others were turned over, as if someone had taken them. I realized I wasn't the only one. But now I know what happens to those who take and don't return. Luck dries up. And the voices grow louder. Today, the little bottle was cracked. The liquid was slowly dripping down the rim. And the glove compartment is full of coins. From different times, different countries. I think they're payments. Or tributes. All I know is that, from now on, I don't know if I'm the one guiding, or if I'm just following instructions. Today, before sunrise, I stopped on a lonely curve and tried to throw the bottle away. I walked into the woods, left it on a tree trunk, and ran back. But when I got into the cab, it was back in the glove compartment. Untouched. As if it had never left there. And with it, another coin. But this one was different. It was golden, shiny, with a symbol I had never seen before. A spiral road, going into an eye. I felt sick just looking at it. And at that very moment, the truck's radio turned on by itself and started playing an old song, one that my mother used to listen to when I was a child. But in a distorted, drawn-out voice. As if it were being sung by someone from the other side of the earth. Since then, I have been driving non-stop. I no longer feel sleepy. I no longer feel hungry. At every turn, I see figures waiting for me. Some wave. Others cry. I have recognized faces I have never seen before. People from different eras. A man in an old-fashioned uniform, a woman in a black veil, even a child with a doll in her arms. They all want to get in. But I can't stop. Every time I think about parking, the engine stalls. Every time I try to pull off the road, the steering wheel stiffens. I am stuck in a loop. And the fuel never drops. As if the road had become a body, and the truck, its soul. This afternoon, I saw another cross. Just like the first one. Only this time, there was a little bottle in it. I got closer and saw that the liquid was clear. Transparent. Like spring water. But inside it was floating something small. An eye. Tiny, almost imperceptible, but blinking. I blinked back, not understanding why. And the radio said, "That's not yours. Yours has already chosen." I came back scared, with my hands shaking. And when I opened the glove compartment, it was there. Pulsing. Like a glass heart full of oil. And at the bottom of it, I think there's something forming a face. I don't know if there's an end to this anymore. The road never ends. The requests never stop. And every time a new coin appears, I feel like another soul has been taken. I don't know if it's by me. Or by her. I just know that I keep going. I keep going with the little bottle. With the voices. With the coins piling up under the bench. Because now, even if I stop, even if I abandon everything, the road will find me again. Like it did with the others. And maybe, someday, someone will pass by a cross with a little dark bottle. And if they pick it up, it will all start again. I've had this truck for almost 8 years. It's an old model, but it holds up well. It has a 6-speed gearbox, well-tuned, nothing too electronic. I've always been careful with it, never forced anything, until that night when I was driving down a mountain near the Montana-Wyoming border. I was a little tired, the road was deserted, and the radio was just blaring. The gear slipped out of 5th, and when I went to shift into 6th, the lever slid down another notch. I froze. I'd never seen that before. A fit that shouldn't have been there. As if it had unlocked itself. Before I could think, the truck shifted into gear by itself. And the road changed. Everything got darker. It wasn't a normal night, it was as if the world's lights had been sucked out. The fog appeared out of nowhere, thick, dense, white as spoiled milk. I looked to the side, at the GPS, and the screen was black. No signal. The dashboard was still lit, but the speedometer was frozen. As if I wasn't moving, even with the engine roaring. And then the sign appeared, emerging from the fog like a ghost, "Welcome back." Red, irregular lettering, as if painted in a hurry. The strangest thing? I had seen that sign before. In a dream. Or something like that. I tried to stop. I hit the brake, downshifted, nothing. 7th gear seemed to be in control. The steering became stiff, but it still obeyed, with a strange delay. The road had no shoulder. Just a solid lane down the center, with no side markings. The truck drove as if it were being guided by something other than mechanics. The headlights barely cut through the fog. And every now and then, I saw silhouettes on the side of the road. Still. Static. Some raised their arms. Others pointed. None had faces. Just human outlines, dark as holes. The radio turned on by itself around 0:13. But it didn't play music. It was a sequence of overlapping voices, as if hundreds of people were talking at the same time. A phrase repeated itself beneath the noise, "Stay in gear." I looked at the dashboard and, where the gear number should have been, there was now a counter, 147. Going down. Like a stopwatch. I tried to shift out of gear, but the lever wouldn't move. The steering wheel began to vibrate. The fog thickened. And the road, which already seemed wrong, began to change texture. The asphalt became darker, like wet coal, and the lanes began to fade. At 47 seconds on the clock, a curve appeared out of nowhere. Very sharp, almost at a right angle. I turned the wheel hard, and the truck responded with a strange squealing sound, like metal scraping against bone. I saw the shapes approaching, they were in the middle of the road now. But the truck passed right through them, like smoke. Behind me, in the rearview mirror, I saw the outlines coming together, forming a line of people standing still, watching me go. And there, for a brief moment, I recognized a face. It was that of a fellow driver who had died 3 years ago. Rollover on I-70. He was smiling. I began to understand that this road was not for going. It was for coming back. And maybe it wasn't the first time. The "Welcome Back" sign made more sense now. The countdown reached 0, and in its place appeared the word, "Arrived." The truck stopped. Alone. In the middle of nowhere. No sound. No engine. No wind. I got out with shaky legs. The road disappeared ahead, ending in a misty abyss. Beside it, an old, fallen-down cabin, with my name scrawled on the side. And inside it, a diary. Each page described deliveries I never remembered doing. Dates that didn't match. One of them was from 1986, the year I was born. I went back to the truck in a panic, but it wouldn't start. The key kept turning. The dashboard was off. Everything was dead. That's when I saw, in the mirror, the outline of someone in the passenger seat. No face, but with the exact silhouette of mine. I felt the air inside the cabin freeze. The figure raised his arm and pointed at the dashboard. Where the gear had been, there was now only a curved arrow, returning to the first position. I put my hand on the gear lever, and this time, it moved easily. When I put it in first gear, the road lit up again. The fog pulled back. And the truck started moving again. But the road was no longer the same. Now the sign said different things: last lap, no return, just you here. I drove with sweaty palms, the radio muted, the clock stuck at midnight. It wasn't until I saw the sign for the entrance to I-25 that I realized I was back in the real world. Or almost. Because ever since that night, every break seems to be delayed by half a second. Every time I shift from sixth to neutral, I feel the gearshift pulling down by itself. As if seventh gear is still there. Waiting. And I know that at exactly midnight, if I shift it wrong again, I'll be back on the road that shouldn't exist. That night I tested it again. Just to be sure. I was on a flat stretch of US 191, with no curves or traffic. I shifted into sixth gear as usual, but kept my hand steady, pushing it down slightly, as I had done that time. And the gear slipped by itself, in a way that only happens at midnight. Everything went dark again. The road disappeared. The fog came faster this time, as if it had been waiting for me. But now something was different. The voices on the radio were louder, clearer. They weren't whispering anymore. They were shouting. They were pleading. They were praying. Some were laughing. Others were crying. It was like walking through a corridor of souls in despair. At the third mile, I saw a truck coming the other way. Just like mine. Same model, same paint job, even the bumper stickers. Only without headlights. As we passed each other, I glanced quickly at the driver. It was me. But his eyes were white and glassy, his mouth open in a silent scream. He didn't see me. Or maybe he pretended to. And just as our mirrors lined up, the radio crackled and said, "Shift change complete." I almost crashed the truck. I managed to pull over to the shoulder, shaking. I turned everything off. But the gears wouldn't go back. Since then, I've been carrying that seventh gear like someone carrying a ghost. I've tried changing the gearbox. It didn't work. The new one also has the same gear shift. I've tried to destroy the truck. I've crashed it, I've tried to sink it. Every time I wake up, it's intact. In the same place where I stopped. Sometimes, with a full tank. Sometimes, with a new dent in the bodywork, as if it had driven without me. As if, on that road, there was another me driving while I sleep. A me who maybe like seventh gear. Who maybe never came back. Today, it's midnight. I have my hand on the gearshift. I feel it pulsing under my fingers. I know that if I push it, I'll go back there. But I also know that, one day, the gear will shift on its own. Because this road is not about choice. It's about cycle. And when you enter it once, the road remembers your name. And it will always want one more turn. There's a route I've avoided ever since the 2011 accident. US 287, between Amarillo and Childress. Whenever I could, I'd take a detour, even if it cost more. But 2 weeks ago, because of an urgent delivery, I had no choice. Within the first few miles, I started to feel the weight of the place. It was as if the air was thicker, the asphalt stickier, as if the truck had to drag memories along with its load. When I first saw the sign, it just said, "Go." But the strange thing was, when I looked in the rearview mirror again, it said, "Back too soon." I thought it was just fatigue. He had been driving for hours. I blinked and shook my head. But then the second one came. One of those green signs with distances. Only instead of town names, there were phrases: abandoned gas station, 13 miles. Buried guilt, 25 miles. I felt a chill. It was as if someone knew. As if that road remembered. And the worst part was that, it made sense. That thing about the gas station, what I buried behind the old dumpster. I never told anyone. It was something that should have disappeared with time. But it seems like it didn't disappear on the road. Since then, every sign on that highway has changed. None of them showed directions, numbers, or city names. Just messages. Some were short and curt: "It's still there." It didn't help to run away. Others were more specific: "She saw you that night." Blood doesn't dry on dirt. I started to get nervous. I sped up, tried to get off the road, but every fork seemed to disappear. As if the road had become a trail. With no alternatives. And the signs started to appear more frequently. Every half mile, a new one. And all of them, without exception, pointed to something I had tried to forget. At the last stop, at an isolated gas station near Vernon, I spoke to the attendant. A thin guy with the look of someone who's seen too much. I asked if he'd noticed the signs changing. He was silent for a few seconds, then said, "They only change for people who are carrying heavy loads." I asked what that meant. He looked at me with hollow eyes and said, "The road remembers. You're the one trying to forget." I left with shaking hands. The truck's radio crackled as if it were trying to tune into a station that didn't exist. And for a moment, I swore I heard someone whisper my name. That same night, the temperature dropped without explanation. The truck read 42 degrees Fahrenheit outside, but the inside felt frozen. The windows began to fog up, and on the front window, a sentence appeared written with my finger: "It wasn't just an object." It was exactly like the handwriting I'd seen on the bathroom wall at the gas station where I'd left that thing. I don't know how to explain it, but I felt a pressure in my chest, as if something was trying to escape me. With each sign, more memories came flooding back. The white cross. The trash can. The poorly made hole. The promise to never go through there again. It all came back to me as if it had happened yesterday. I drove for over an hour without seeing anyone else on the road. No headlights coming the other way. No cars passing. It was as if the stretch of road had closed off just for me. The next sign was different. Crooked, as if it had been ripped off and replaced in a hurry. It read, "If you dig it again, it will come back." I nearly lost control of the steering wheel. I broke out in a cold sweat. My hands were shaking. I remembered the last time I had seen that thing, the heavy, poorly sealed black package. I had tried to forget it for a decade. And now the entire road seemed to want me to remember it. Further on, I pulled over to the side of the road to catch my breath. When I got out, I saw a small sign, stuck straight into the ground, where there shouldn't be anything. It said, "Listen." And as soon as I read it, the truck started up by itself. The radio, which was off, started playing a song my sister used to listen to when she was a child. That song. That night. The fight. The dirt road behind the gas station. I started to cry. I don't remember how long I stayed there. All I know is that when I got back to the cab, there was a new sign stuck to the truck door. It was just one sentence: "You still have time." I drove straight to the abandoned gas station. I no longer thought about the freight or the destination. All I could remember was her voice asking me to stop, my anger, and what happened next. The place was the same. The grass was taller, the windows were broken, but the ground seemed disturbed. As if someone had already dug. I grabbed a shovel that I found in the dumpster. I started digging in the same spot, behind the dumpster. And I swear to God, it wasn't empty. But it wasn't what I buried. It was something else. An object I'd never seen before. A box. With a sign inside. Made of iron. And on it was written, "Thank you for remembering." The box trembled slightly in my hands. It was too cold, even in the heat. I tried to open it right there, but I couldn't. I got back into the truck, put it in the passenger seat, and continued on my way. The road seemed quieter, as if it had done what it wanted. The normal signs appeared again, with the names of the cities and the mileage. But the silence brought no relief. The box wouldn't stop vibrating, and every time I looked out of the corner of my eye, I swore I saw something moving inside it, like a shadow trying to escape through the cracks. And the radio now only repeated one sound, a heartbeat. At the entrance to Amarillo, I stopped again. I needed to open the box. I used a screwdriver and forced it until the lid popped off. Inside, wrapped in a filthy cloth, was the same object I had buried. But now, wrapped in something that looked like skin. And glued to it was a photo of me. Recent. Taken from inside the cabin. The window showed the exact scene of the gas station where I had stopped 2 hours earlier. I tore up the photo and tried to throw it away. But it reappeared in the glove compartment. I began to understand that the road didn't want me to forget. It wanted me to remember. It wanted me to carry it with me. It wanted me to never let go of it again. Since then, with each new stretch of US 287, the signs change again. Sometimes with dates. Sometimes with names. Some that I know, others that I may yet meet. I feel like I'm stuck with it. As if, by burying it, I had made a pact. Not to hide it. But to keep it. Like a caretaker of my own mistake. And now, the road demands it from me. With messages. With souvenirs. With voices at night on the radio that call my name as if they know there's nowhere left to run. Today, I saw the last sign. It was at the exit of the interstate. It was old and rusty and it said, "The last stretch is yours." Then the GPS stopped working. The compass went haywire. And the road was empty again. Just me. The truck. The box on the seat next to it. And the feeling that the next sign will have today's date. And my full name. In red letters. Like a final reminder. It all started one rainy morning as I was driving through New Mexico on I-40. I was sleepy, but it was still a good 3 hours until the next rest stop. I remember turning on the CB out of boredom, just to hear someone, anything. But the frequency was clear. Total silence. Then, out of nowhere, a thin, childish voice came, very clear, "Hi, Daddy." I almost braked the truck in fright. I looked at the radio and then at the rearview mirror. Of course, there was no one there. I was alone. Always had been. Never married, never had children. That voice made no sense at all. I thought it was interference, some open channel, a child playing with a ham radio. But then she spoke again. "Are you going home? I miss you." It was sweet, but it hurt to hear. The kind of voice that sends chills down your spine. And even stranger, it seemed to be coming from inside the cabin. As if there were someone back there. I looked quickly, turned my face to the back of the seat. Nothing. But the CB sound was still on, and the child's breathing, slow, calm, continued in the background of the transmission. The road grew darker, and even with the high beams on, it seemed like the night had swallowed everything. I turned off the CB. But it was no use. The voice continued. This time, closer. Daddy, remember that song we used to sing? And then the truck's radio turned on by itself, playing a children's song that I swear I'd never heard before, but I knew the whole melody. I started singing without thinking. And that's when I realized. I knew those lyrics. I just didn't know from where. The steering wheel started to shake slightly. The dashboard blinked. And the voice whispered, "You promised you'd never leave me alone again." That's when I realized the road seemed to be spinning in circles. The same sign, the same abandoned gas station. 3 times. I pulled over to the side of the road. I jumped out of the cab, breathing fast. I tried to calm myself, but when I came back, there was a drawing stuck to the windshield, as if it had been made with a smudged finger. A sun, a little house, a figure with a big heart in the middle, with my name written on it. It was a child's thing. But it couldn't be there. The rain was falling hard, the glass should have been clean. And yet, the drawing seemed to be coming from inside. I sat back down, with the radio off, but the voice came back, "You left me in the back seat. Why don't you look again?" I didn't want to look. I felt like if I turned my head, something would really change. But my curiosity got the better of me. I turned around slowly, sweating. I didn't see anyone. Just the empty seat. But there was something on the floor of the cabin. A small, pink shoe, worn, as if it had been forgotten there for years. I picked it up with my fingertips and immediately the voice came more clearly on the CB, "I thought you had thrown it away." I almost dropped it. I threw the radio out the window and stomped my foot, trying to get away from it all. But even with the CB out, the voice came through the sound of the engine. As if I were inside the machine now. The road began to change. The GPS froze, the signs disappeared. And suddenly, all the signs showed the same word, home. But it wasn't a city, or a familiar landmark. Just this, home, with an arrow pointing to a dirt road to the right. Against all instinct, I turned. The trail was narrow, with trees bent over, as if trying to block the way. The headlights illuminated broken toys on the ground, as if someone had scattered them there on purpose. Headless dolls, rusty cars, building blocks with incomplete names. Everything was familiar in a wrong way. I pulled over when I saw the house. Small, old, with lights on. I had never seen it before, but I knew right away, it was there. I got out and approached the door. Before I knocked, I heard the children's song again, the same one that had been playing on the radio. And a voice inside singing softly. When I knocked, the door opened by itself. The interior was a mix of my childhood and something that I hadn't experienced. Pictures of me with a girl I didn't recognize. Me when I was younger, holding a child in my arms. A picture frame with the caption, "Daddy and Emma, 2004. But in 2004, I was alone, traveling around Ohio. I never had children. Never. On the couch, there was a notebook of drawings. All of them were made by little hands. Several showed a truck, always the same one, with a heart on the windshield. Below, phrases like, "Come back soon, Daddy," and "I was good today." The sound of a voice came from behind, "You said you'd come back." I waited. I turned around and saw no one, but the TV turned on by itself. It showed VHS images of me playing with a girl. Things I didn't remember. Or that maybe I had forgotten for some reason that my mind tried to erase. But now, everything was coming back. And with it, a nameless guilt. Faceless. Just a presence. I ran back to the truck. I tried to start it, reverse it, and get out of there. Nothing worked. The dashboard lit up with short sentences on the digital display. She's still waiting. You promised. Each attempt to start the car was followed by a children's song, playing directly from the engine, as if the machine itself were singing. In the passenger seat, the little shoe now had a pair. Two, side by side. And in the rearview mirror, a small silhouette sitting in the back seat. I didn't turn around. I just stood there, sweating, waiting for it to end. But it didn't. The voice came back on the radio, sweet, needy, Daddy, can I go with you now? I took a deep breath, swallowed my tears. I said out loud, yes. The engine started by itself. The dashboard stabilized. And the road opened up again, as if nothing had happened. I got back onto the main road, and everything seemed normal. But the radio wouldn't turn off. The voice kept talking, as if it were a real daughter. It asked silly questions, made jokes, told me about an imaginary day. And every time I looked in the rearview mirror, I saw a little rag doll in the back seat, changing positions. Sometimes sitting. Sometimes lying down. Always looking forward. Always there. It's been a week since this started. And every day, at 11:07 p.m., she shows up. Always with the same voice. The same sweet tone. As if she were home. Sometimes she tells me about her dreams. Sometimes she asks why I took so long. And I don't know what to say. I've been thinking about going back to that house, but I don't know if I can. I'm afraid of discovering that that part of me isn't an invention. That somewhere along the way, I really did have someone. And I lost them. And I forgot. Or I buried it all so deep that now it's come back to remind me, on the road, on the radio, through the innocence of someone who never understood abandonment. Yesterday, the voice said something different. Before hanging up, it whispered, "Tomorrow is my birthday." And after that, total silence. Not even the CB hiss. Since then, the truck won't start in the morning. It only works at night. And the back seat has never been empty again.